How are you guys feeling today? In the mood for this next 45 minutes or so? No appraisals on the mind? No appraisals on the mind?
We just closed all appraisals.
You just closed all appraisals. Okay, so compensation and promotions on the mind then. Wonderful. Let me see if I can go through that clutter and even ask you one or two probing questions. Actually, my job, let me introduce myself a little. I've been in the IT world. I started off as I'm an engineer MBA, started off in the world of IT with TCS, as I was saying, when TCS was only 3,000 people, some 30 years ago, and risen through the ranks, and I've been a CIO, a COO, CEO, various multinational organizations, large companies like HCL, like you guys. So I know the way around what a typical employee feels like within an organization like this. I've been in those chairs and I understand what you guys are going through when you're called for external lectures and so on and so forth, which don't mean anything to you and so on and so forth. So anyway, I'll try and, like I said, go through that clutter and see if I can ask you one or two silly questions. Because my job is a consultant. So 2 years ago, I left my regular CXO job and I said enough is enough of a line leader role. Let me do something totally different. And I set up my own company, and I'm a consultant today, enjoying it a lot. I guess this lecturing for a little while is only a very part-time piece. I don't do this on a regular basis, but this was Nikita's special request. I said I can't refuse her, so I have to come here. And I have quite a few friends in HCL as well. In fact, I was reasonably sure that I'm going to meet a few faces at least that I recognize. I thought I'll use the opportunity to say hello to a few folks as well. Ideapreneurship is the subject. We'll talk about it for the next 35 to 45 minutes, and then if you have any questions, we'll talk about that as well. I thought I'll start with a little clip which you might enjoy, especially in an IT world. All of you guys are engineers. I'm assuming all of you are engineering background, right? Yeah? Okay, this is a participative session. I'm not here to lecture. I don't know how to lecture. I'm not a trainer. I'm not a lecturer. So make sure that you guys are speaking as much as I do. I thought I'll show you a little video to start with. What makes that funny? What makes that funny? Everybody smiles or laughs at that. What makes it funny? Yeah, so obvious, na? They could have easily taken on the responsibility themselves and done something about it, but they're choosing for somebody else to come in and help because this is my job and not here and not here and so on and so forth, right? I asked this question of quite a few people who I speak with, saying, what do you think these two people who are shown, are they entrepreneurs or are they employees of a large organization? Just take a guess. I don't know as well, but just take a guess. Employees of a large organization. Why do you say so? What makes you believe that they are not entrepreneurs? Actually, that brings me to this question. What distinguishes an entrepreneur's behavior vis-a-vis an employee of a large company? What's your feel? I said you got to participate. Silo views. This is my job, and what happens here and what happens there is not my concern, right? So unless the IT specialist comes in and helps, I can't set this right myself because, hey, that's not my job. What else? Is there something else which is different? Between a typical average employee of a large organization?
There are already so many processes present in a large organization that nobody thinks about innovating at the time of need.
Yeah.
There should be something already present.
Yeah. That this is the way we've done things for the last 10 years. So who are you, you new kid on the block coming in and telling me I should do different?
You're looking for help.
Yeah, so looking for help. There are a whole lot of support systems in place, whereas I was the CEO of a 15,000 people I was leading in my team, and suddenly I become an entrepreneur. It's I, me, and myself, just 3 people in the company. Now, who do I go for help? If my laptop is not working, so you have to figure out a way to do things yourself. Or if you do have employees, actually this is the one thing which came out very different also in one of the conversations I was having, where if you are an employee of mine as an entrepreneur and I'm an entrepreneur, my customer, if I do not get business, you don't get salary. Okay. So the ownership of the employee base for the leader, for the manager is so huge, which maybe even as leaders here you don't even appreciate because वो नौकरी तो है ना, वो तो पैसा तो मिल ही रहा है, क्या दिक्कत? So अगर 2 हफ्ते या 2 महीना काम नहीं हुआ and you don't get enough salary into the account, doesn't matter because so what? Everybody. Companies are too big to fail. Otherwise, the government will step in and hopefully do something and make sure that, whatever, hopefully. How do we show entrepreneurship while still being an employee of HCL Technologies? Can you still be part of a large organization and do a few things, or are there systems that are causing you roadblocks? What can you do as an employee of HCL, which typically an entrepreneur would have done?
I'll probably try to help myself rather than being spoon-fed.
Absolutely. Don't wait to be spoon-fed.
Help colleagues as well.
Help your colleagues. Don't wait for somebody to ask for help. Huh?
This is your own business.
Yeah, feel like it's your own business. Why is it not your own business? Is the customer your customer? If there is a customer who walks away from HCL, do you guys feel the pain in the heart? But if you don't, then hey, you're wasting your time. I'm telling you right now, you're wasting your time. Somewhere you have to build that passion. I think the key word is probably the passion for what you're doing. There is another book, actually I'll share with you a couple of copies of my own book, but there's another book I can quote from. This was a neighbor of mine actually in Laburnum and Gurgaon where we were staying. You've seen the Guardian Pharmacy? Yeah. The guy who opened Guardian Pharmacy was the head of one of the divisions of ITC. So again, a big man, big player, head of a large organization, decides to chuck everything one day and starts off the Guardian Pharmacy. And he talked of this in his book, beautifully done, to say what is the big difference between being an employee and in there. He says, my passion was to do something. I set up my company because I wanted to do something for India or do something for the people here and so on and so forth. And then after the number of Guardian stores, chemist shops became so many that he could not play the role of a CEO himself. He hired a CEO. And he says the first thing that the CEO started off was getting the costliest laptop that existed, created a big cabin for himself, etc., etc., etc. So, in fact, similar things. So that passion was missing. He's more merely what's in it for me, rather than what's in it for the business. And that's one big difference. I've seen so many, I've coached so many. Today I coach about, well, just short of 100 middle to senior manager leaders, all the way up to a CEO level. And one of the, especially from the middle management layer, I get this quite a lot. कि मेरी promotion नहीं हो रही, why am I not getting that AVP position, and I've done everything that was supposed to have been done, and please help me, and what can I do to get the next AVP move, etc., etc. And it's all be. I want to be this, versus an entrepreneur saying I want to do this. And that, to my mind, is, if there are 2 or 3 messages that you pick up as you walk out of the door in the evening, let this be one of the messages. Please, every time you think of saying, I want to be the senior manager, or I want to be an analyst or a senior analyst or whatever, stop yourself. Always talk in terms of do. Don't talk in terms of be. And that, I think, is an entrepreneur is driven by a cause and seeks to do rather than just to be. I don't want to be a vice president. In fact, so often I tell the guys, so if you tell me I want to be a vice president in this company, I say, okay, I have a magic wand, from today you are a vice president. So how will you behave differently? What will you do differently as you walk out of that door? Start doing that. The designation and all will follow. The genesis of ideapreneurship, I guess, is becoming an entrepreneur. That's the starting point. And then I've coined a separate phrase. Well, I picked it up, I cheated. But an entrepreneur who is internal to a large organization is an intrapreneur. So in fact, I call you guys are really intrapreneurs. So if you start displaying the behaviors of an entrepreneur while still being part of a large organization, you are like intrapreneurs. And ideapreneurship is really one element of this exercise. And what does an entrepreneur do differently? I guess that's what you answered, so I won't go into this again. There are three elements to the culture of entrepreneurship. Building self and company brand, being passionate about the brand, being passionate about the customer, and being passionate about the bottom line. If you're not making money, we are not here for charity, we have to make money. If the company doesn't make, if my company doesn't make money, my employees don't get paid, as simple as that. So those are the three pieces. And while you would imagine ideapreneurship is applicable where? In which one of these three bubbles do you think ideapreneurship will be more applicable? Is it here on the bottom line piece, is it on the customer piece, or is it the company brand?
Feel the customer pain.
Feel the customer pain, for sure. Somebody said all? Somebody said all three, so I'll agree with you. Actually, it is all three. Why here company brand probably is the least intuitive, but my feeling at least is that if you do not, and it's not just the company brand, it's also your own brand. That's the other message that I wanted to give you as budding leaders, to say that if you cannot think of yourself as a brand, somewhere along the line you're not doing a good job. So start thinking of yourself as a brand. And you're a product. You're a product in the labor market, right? What does the HCL Technologies brand stand for? So if I were to ask you, you're all, how many years have you been on an average in HCL now? 3 years, 5 years? 3 to 5 years. So in 3 to 5 years, you should know, and you know the brand guys are sitting here right in the front row. So he'll have a big smile on his face if he hears the right answers on this. But what do you associate with the brand? When an outsider comes in, and I have only a minute with you, and you have to tell me all about HCL in a minute, what are the first 2 or 3 adjectives that you'll use? Summarize in 3 words. So somebody pick out those 3 words.
Indian multinational.
Indian multinational. Employees first. Relationship beyond contract. I love it. So you guys have done a good job. So you deserve a round of applause to yourself. Come on, come on, come on. Well done. So let's hear the passion now. Share examples. So where you say, beyond the contract, relationship beyond the contract, what have you done as an individual employee of the organization that has enhanced that reputation? Kuch kiya? Anybody? Yeah, employees first, agar ek aur wo hai, who has one person raise hand at least? And that's where the passion should come through. One person raise hand, say, हाँ ये मैंने किया, yesterday I did this, which actually enhanced the brand of the company.
Actually, I did something yesterday.
Please, wonderful. I was looking for some story.
And I couldn't come to office, but the work was important. So I called up my manager and said, I'm not coming, but I'll do the work. By the end of the evening, I realized that my internet connection is very slow, and there were things to be delivered. And I had myself committed to the client that I will deliver it. So it is not just about HCL, it's also that the personal relationship that I have with my client. So I stayed nearby fortunately, just 10 kilometers. At 9:30 I was here, and after 1:30 I worked. In 5 hours, I got it delivered. And as per Australia time, 10 a.m., the deployment happened. So I'm happy that, and people ask me, why did you do that? Well, I think I did it because firstly, it is that I'm representing a big company, so its reputation is at stake. Secondly, the client is also very helpful, and I have a relationship with the client.
Wonderful.
So he understands me at the time of problem, so I also.
Wonderful. So does he deserve an applause? Absolutely. Absolutely. So that is a typical entrepreneur. That's a typical entrepreneur where you think this is my company, I've got to give it my best shot. Actually, we are all in this, we spend what, 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours every day. If that passion is not there for the role, what the heck are we doing here in the first place, right? So make sure that you're delivering to your best potential. You are being watched. I said I'll be provocative, and I am being provocative. Every one of you, this is not an 8-hour job, this is not a 12-hour job, this is a 24-hour job. You may be out there in the movie hall and so on and so forth, and people notice you. People, in fact, I've had so many of these guys coming in, kahan ghum liya, but wo, that words. And if I do anything wrong, or if I take an Amex group, for example, while I'm in American Express, I take an Amex group for a offsite or something, and people mess around and they throw stones at the glass, and the glass breaks and so on and so forth. What will the hotel guys remember? Oh, Amex wale aaye the, wo itna, and so on. It is the brand of Amex which is taking the hit. People will not remember a Rajnish or whatever the names are, but they'll remember who Amex wale aaye the, wo sara gadbad karke gaye. So it's a 24-hour job. You're carrying the job on your shoulders. What are the day-to-day activities that you do, where others will create perceptions about you? One of the things I keep getting asked as a coach is, I slogged my backside. Why am I not getting the best rating possible during appraisal and so on and so forth? Why? Because the bell curve got created, and somebody else, third person, who's not even knowing me well, but he had an opinion about me, so therefore I got pushed one. How come the person who doesn't even know you that well has an opinion about you? What are you doing that creates those perceptions? Anybody? What do you do that creates perceptions? I'm just passing you by, but by the end of that passing by you, I would have created an impression of you.
The overall way you carry yourself, how you personify your own self in front of others. You don't really need to say anything.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just the way you are.
So unfortunately, the way our brains are structured, I'll create an impression of you whether you like it or not. What else? What do you do which creates perceptions?
Similar things, how you carry yourself, and maybe your dressing sense, the way you talk.
Your gestures as well.
Gestures.
The way we talk, the way we behave, the way we write, the way we communicate.
So anything and everything. Essentially everything that you do or say or don't say will create these perceptions. And mind you, perception is reality. So you may continue to believe you are the best programmer in town, but if your internal customers believe you're lousy. As far as I'm concerned, that perception is the truth. And you may keep believing whatever else you want. So perception is a reality, and therefore managing perception is a big deal as far as managing. And if you are your own brand, okay, let me ask you this. What does your brand stand for? If I were to ask you as an individual, what do you stand for? When your friends think of you as an individual, what is the first adjective that comes to their mind? Confident. Okay. What is the second? Outspoken. Fair. So you've already created a brand in the minds of people. I was so amazed. I was the CEO for Aviva Global Services those days. And I met Anil Ambani at a chance encounter in a social gathering. And I didn't realize that. I realized it later that he was actually taking my interview while while I had a glass of beer in my hand. And so he says, Rajnish, you don't need to talk about yourself. We know about you. Just tell me how you're going to run my business if I take you on. That scared the shit out of me, because for somebody like an Anil Ambani to say, yeah, we already know about you, and so reputations go very fast in this industry. It's a very small industry. Before you know it, who you are or what you stand for, everybody else in the industry seems to know about it. So make sure that you actually consciously create this brand. What does your brand stand for? What would your friends ascribe, or what would your boss, if I were to meet your boss right now, what would he say?
General perception, hardworking, dedicated.
Hardworking, dedicated, that's the brand. Wonderful. Summarize in 3 words. I guess, for paucity of time, we won't do this exercise here, but otherwise I ask people to write down 3 adjectives for themselves. And then the next question, have your recent, so if you feel that you're the confident guy, and I just ask you to come and stand here and talk for the rest of the session, my throat has gone bad, so please come and stand and talk to this group about ideapreneurship. If you do not take that challenge, then you're damaging that brand of confidence and so on. So if you take on that challenge, it's reinforced. And everybody else goes back and tells 30 other people saying, wow, this girl was really wonderful. Huh? She was very confident about herself. And your brand image goes, is enhanced. So make sure that you remember, think of yourself as a product in the labor market. We don't generally, it took me quite some time as I was growing up in my career to believe that you are a product in the labor market. Everybody is sold for a different price, but that's all right, that's the way it is. Do you want to be sold? What's a good product I can talk of? Say t-shirts or whatever. Give me the best brands of t-shirts or shirts. Nike, Adidas, okay, t-shirts. What's a typical lousy brand for t-shirts, do you know? Which you will, Which one? Benetton? Okay, I'll stay quiet on that. But say a Ramlal Shamlal brand or whatever, and so whether you choose to be the Ramlal Shamlal brand of shirts or whether you want to be the Nikes and Adidas, the choice is yours. If you want to be the designer product, or do you want to be just another programmer, or do you want to be the programmer that ever shined on this Mother Earth? That's the challenge that you should take on yourself. That if you are in this business, why would you run a race to be 377th in the race? You want to be in the top, no? In the top 5 or top 10 or top 20 or something of that sort. So make sure that when you're running this race, you want to be at the top. Just like that, when you've chosen this as a professional career. Roger Federer chose tennis as a career, and he's become the world, whatever, number 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever else. But he's in the top 5, top 10 even today. If you've chosen this as your professional piece, this is where you're getting your bread and butter from, why would you want to be just another ordinary techie? You want to be the best there is there in the world. No? And that's what entrepreneurship is all about. Word of mouth spreads very fast. Don't be afraid of reinventing yourself as you grow in your career as well. I mean, if I take my own examples and from some of the people who know me from earlier, I started off my career exactly like you guys. In fact, I started as a programmer in TCS, grew to a project manager, assistant consultant, and whatever else, and then eventually have touched the CIO, CO, and CEO levels as well. So every stage I have to reinvent myself. I have to drop some skills and acquire, because दिमाग तो उतना छोटा सा ही है. So इतना सब कुछ fit नहीं आएगा. So you have to, today if you sit me in front of a machine and say, okay, program in C or program in whatever else, I have no clue. Absolutely zero clue on how to do programming today. But that was a skill which, in fact, if anything, my first 3 promotions probably came because I was good at, at the programming and coding level or whatever, or analytics or whatever, I don't know. But somewhere you have to forget what brought you success last year may not bring you success this year. So you have to keep reinventing yourself. Then 2 years ago, I totally changed track altogether. I'd been a CXO for about 15 years. I said, okay, so do I want the next 5 years of my life to look exactly like my previous 5 years? And I said, no, let me do something totally different. This is totally different. But, well, that's what fun is all about. Keep doing things differently. Deliver world class and be proud of what you deliver. This is again another sign of an entrepreneur. Make sure that whatever comes off your workstation goes absolutely world class. Otherwise, what's the big point? How many of you see yourselves as future leaders? Just a show of hands, how many of you see yourselves as future leaders? So future CEOs. So future CEOs. How many of you see yourselves as leaders today? So about 3 or 4. What about the others? Why don't you see yourself as leaders today? Aren't you actually leaders? So for the people who got their hands down, don't you see yourself as leaders today?
We are actually leaders today.
Of course you are leaders. So what do you do which shows leadership? Just a title and just 5 people or 10 people reporting to you doesn't make you a leader. What do you do today that shows that you're a leader?
I think accomplishing your own task efficiently.
You're completing the task that was assigned to you efficiently, given all the challenges of health that, the example that was given. Absolutely brilliant. Of course, that's a leadership piece that you're showing.
I think a leader is somebody who helps other people.
You're coaching others. So if you're coaching others, you're a leader automatically.
You don't need to be a reporting manager. Even
Absolutely.
stores and
Can you coach your boss? Can you lead to?
one guy to whom everybody comes for consultation.
That is a leader. Straight away, that's a leader.
Leader himself is an example for others, in fact.
So if you become a role model for somebody else to follow, saying, yeah, that's what I want to do, even if it's a peer, of course you're a leader. In fact, at home, the neighbor's kids, or maybe if you have your own kids or whatever, if they say, wo uncle jaisa banna hai, ya wo auntie jaisa banna hai, so of course that's role modeling. Somebody is aspiring to be you already. So what if he or she is 6 years old and 7 years old and so on and so forth? Isn't that a leader's job? Of course it is. So we are all leaders, one form or the other, we are all leaders. And therefore you should be starting to behave like that if you are not already. Feel the customer pain. Processes are important, absolutely, but not as much as customer delight. If I can cite an example, I don't know how we are doing for time. Customer satisfaction, I mean, while I was the CEO for Aviva, for example, this was supporting the UK business, but their customer satisfaction scores used to be about 4.5, 5, 5.5, relatively poor. So if you're a British citizen and you bang your car against a tree and you call us up for a claim, that claim used to typically last for about 90 days by the time your claim was settled. And for that 90 days, you were totally lost, because when you called me up, maybe I from Aviva would take the call, I'll do something, pass it on to him, he'll do something, pass it on to him, and so on and so forth. And finally, for those 90 days, your claim was lost. To say where is it in that entire chain of 5 people handling the claim was lost. So if you called up as a customer, there was nobody to give you a response saying, kya ho raha hai, kab solve hoegi, etc., etc. So we changed that process, sitting in Pune those days, but sitting in India as a shared service center for our UK customers. We changed the process to say, let's designate for a pilot. We ran a pilot for about some customers, say 50,000 customers. Say, for these guys, there will be a relationship manager in India. And so we changed the process altogether and made it so that when the customer called, there was one person who knew exactly where the claim is in that entire process. So even though the 90 days was not touched, 90 days was still 90 days, but the customer responsiveness became so fast, we moved up to a CSAT of almost about 8 out of 10. 7.5 to 8 was quite ordinary. And UK had never seen such customer satisfaction scores. India contributed to their well-being by this upliftment of the CSAT scores. So imagine if already you are in turmoil because your car is damaged and so on and so forth, and you for 90 days now you don't know as to what's going to happen about this claim. Absolutely atrocious situation, which we corrected. Those guys, and they have a big business. In fact, Norwich Union or Aviva is probably one of the biggest insurers there in UK, and their support staff sitting here in India could actually create a pilot situation where we. So never underestimate what you can contribute to the end customer perspective. I thought this example probably will impact on the bottom line. Of course, you have to understand any activity that you do, how does it translate into your company's profit and loss, or maybe even your department's profit and loss. Because if you don't have that feel, you're not acting as an entrepreneur. Somewhere, if you have to be an entrepreneur, then you've got to make sure that you know and also the innovation and the continuous improvement piece. Again, I can cite an example from American Express, where those days I was in the US, and we saved in 1 year, we saved $150 million for American Express by their procurement business. So you can imagine Amex is such a large organization, some 80, 90,000 people. So actually your size, you guys are also about 90,000 or so. So those days, which is about 10, 15 years ago, the procurement process, we switched around from decentralized procurement to centralized procurement. Amex spends about $6 billion on their procurement exercise. So $150 million we could save in 1 year by just changing the process and consolidating it and making it centralized. And therefore another idea or another ideapreneurs thinking, which led to this saving. So innovation, I guess what I wanted to conclude with was think of one idea, but you guys don't have any pen and pencil, huh? No paper, no pencil. Anybody, will you be able to create one sheet of paper per head? Yeah, can we organize that? You know, if you get, I used to say this to my own teams. You guys are like warriors, huh? You're like soldiers in an army. So soldier की जैसे वो तलवार होती है, आपका तो paper pencil. So you cannot go to a meeting and not have a paper and pencil in your hand. So that's your tools, or at least bring out your smartphones and maybe capture it on one of the SMSs and shoot off the SMS to somebody central. Maybe that's a new fashion of doing things. But what I want you to do is think of at least one idea. Think of at least one idea which, whether it is towards customer satisfaction or whether it is towards productivity saves or whether it is towards cost saves or whatever, think of at least one idea, jot down your name and that idea, and let's pool it together. And out of 30, 35 ideas, even if we can implement one or two, that will be a big deal. That will be a big deal. Right? So take a sheet of paper from somewhere, one of your neighbors. You know, in most employees I've seen, there is always that one idea which is always in the head at the back, and agar ye ho jata to life would have been so much better. I want you to think of that idea and jot it down on a piece of paper. Maybe for whatever reason it has not been implemented so far. Maybe it hasn't been prioritized so far. But I guess here is an opportunity. If you guys...
We can split the paper in half, and that is also cost cutting and maximum utilization of resources.
Yeah, why not? Absolutely. Absolutely. No idea is a small idea. That's what I've seen. So jot down at least one idea which with your name in there as well, and then we'll collect.
Any specific to the job role?
Yeah, so no, not necessarily the job, but to the organization. You actually for the who is less than 6 months old or 1 year old in the company? So actually you guys should be thinking of a lot of these ideas. Let nobody here in the company tell you, nahi, ye to pichle 10 saal se aisa hi hota. So you should be coming up with all the bright ideas for the company saying, let's do it differently. So what is it that you guys want to do differently? So will you guys, this is like a byproduct of the session. But I suggest prioritize the ideas and maybe share them around with this team and see if there might be...
Some of these we should share with the function heads.
Yeah, there may be 2 or 3 gems in there which were just waiting to be found. Okay, so 5 o'clock is what I was supposed to finish off with. I have one more video which I wanted to show you at the end. But before that, what are some of the messages you guys heard about being an ideapreneur? What is the new phrase that I introduced was an intrapreneur that leads to an ideapreneur. So what is the 1 or 2 messages that have sunken into your head?
Yeah, so one is that to be and to do.
Difference between, so don't think of being, do. Make sure that you do, and automatically being will happen.
You are a product and always.
Yeah, you are a product in the labor market. Absolutely. See yourself as a brand. So you also have a brand. Yeah. Or kya?
If your bosses don't turn, you don't turn.
Huh?
If your bosses don't turn, you don't turn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Your job is to make sure your boss is successful. If he or she is successful, then you will automatically be successful.
Concentrate on what I want to do rather than work on what I want to be.
Absolutely. That being will happen.
Be passionate.
Huh?
Be passionate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Whatever you choose to do, if you're a sales guy, you've got to be the best sales guy. If you're a programmer, you've got to be the best programmer. There is no, God bless, but there is no half measures to say, acha chalo kar lete hain, ye bhi kaam kar lete hain. That's not you. Huh? And there will be any number of people who will tell you around you. In fact, there's a very beautiful saying. Again, I'm a good sports, I'm a good sports person, so I'm a good sports reader as well. And I read a lot of these autobiographies. And Pete Sampras ki ek book thi, which Pete Sampras is the tennis star, for those of you who don't know. But he has written a book in the mind of the champion. And he distinguishes between how does the mind of a champion work and how does the mind of an ordinary mortal work. And he defines there in the mind of a champion, he says there are always 3 people that you have to beat before you win that game. You have to beat that devil in your head. There is always a devil in your head who's telling you, nahi, nahi, ye nahi kar sakte. This is too difficult. This is too difficult a job for you. You can't do it. So you've got to beat that devil. You've got to beat the ref, as he says, meaning there will always be those mistakes happen. There will always be those, environment will throw some jokers at you. So you have to beat those. And the third guy is the guy across the net, the opponent. So he says, make sure, and so let nobody, as you endeavor on your journey towards this leadership, towards being future CEOs, and in fact even present CEOs, make sure there's nobody that is telling you, oh, you can't do this. You can't do this because it's too hard, it's too tough for you. There will be any number of people who will tell you that. So make sure you don't let anyone tell you it can't be done. There is a beautiful clip that I saw on YouTube, which I thought I'd show you guys as well. How a coach leads his people by actually making them okay, you'll see for himself. Let me not narrate the instance. So they're going to play a game against somebody, an opponent who's bigger than them. They know it, that they're going to play a team which is bigger than them.
Very well. You take care of it. That's it. I want to see you do the death roll, and I want to see your absolute best. What? Want to go to the 30? Then you go to 50. I go to 50, otherwise I'll go back. Then you go Jeremy on your back. Even if you can, you possibly you're going to do your best. All right? Your best. Okay. You gonna give me your best? I'm gonna give you my best. All right, then we're back. I want you to do one. One. I want you to get up a certain one. Good work. Yeah. Here we go in the back.
So that's the whole field. And he's going to carry one fellow back to, let's see whether he can do it here or here. He feels he can do it only up till here. So while the audio was not quite clear, but here was a guy who believed that he could cover only 1/4 of the field, and the coach was asking him to stretch himself and tied his eyes up. So let the eyes not tell the mind to say that it can't be done, that he's already done 1/4 of the field and therefore he should quit. So that was the, so he says don't let anybody around you, because also again the audio is not so clear, but the people around him were making him believe that, that's it, that we were fighting a higher opponent and therefore we are bound to lose. And the whole thing of how you get into a task and let nobody tell you, that it can't be done. But because the moment the eye sensation went away, the mind could not be told that you're almost reaching the very end of the pitch. Forget about 1/4 the pitch. You've done 3 times the distance of what you thought you could do. I found this video on YouTube very powerful, so I thought I'll show it to you as well. So don't let anybody else tell you in the organization saying "ऐसा तो हो ही नहीं सकता." That this is the way we've done things for the last 10 years. So you guys, you're just 2 years, 6 months into the system. So you don't know what's happening. Make sure that you put, and that's what leadership is all about. That's what being a leader within the organization has nothing to do with your designation, nothing to do with the stripes you're carrying on your shoulder. It's just how you're thinking, and you have that confidence in yourself. And so I was very happy about your answer. So that's it. Thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed this.